Welcome back, everybody. Maine Fly Guys here with another fly tying tutorial. Today we are going to tie one of my favorite fall streamers for Maine brook trout, which is the Montreal Floozie. Now it's got a traditional different name, but they will censor me on YouTube if I use its name. So I'm going to call it the Floozie, which is not its name, but whatever. So this is our 4XL streamer hook in size 2. It's my favorite size. I love this hook because it's a little thicker gauge for streamers, and so you don't need to add the lead wraps up front to get it down. The thickness of that hook is really all that you need for this streamer to get down. And you're not, I typically don't fish this really deep. I fish it pretty close to the surface, so I just want it to, get just barely underneath the surface. So I'm also using white thread, you'll see, which I'll explain in a second. But the first step here is just for some silver tinsel. And I wrap back to about before the point, but not past the barb. You know what I mean? So I'm right in between. And then I will go forward, catching these wraps. Boom. You can make a big body if you want. Like, you could use yarn, or you could use anything that's orange, because ultimately I'm gonna make this an orange body. I give myself about an eye length here. So before wrapping, I come in and actually color it with an orange Sharpie. And you might be saying, why not just use orange thread? Great question. Most of the orange thread that I have is not UV. It doesn't have any UV signature. This orange Sharpie, most Sharpie colors have a UV signature. In the fall, all right, trout and salmon can see UV colors. They can see UV colors. This has been well documented in brown trout. They can see UV colors when they're young, when they're like, just a couple years old, 2-3 years old. But they lose that ability except when they start their spawning run in the fall. And so in the fall, that's why these bright patterns work a lot of the time, because fish are keying in on these UV signatures. And I think it elicits some more strikes than it normally would. So you can't really tell there because of the silver flash, but it's bright with the UV light. So that's why I do it. I have some orange thread on me that also has UV. Do you see how bright? See how bright that is? Like, that's really bright. That's UV signature too, but that thread is just too small a diameter. So you can use thread, but I just like to have the body have a UV signature. Okay. I'm gonna change my thread color to black because I like the head to be black. So I just do a quick whip finish. I also like to change my thread for a smaller diameter on the head. I actually use 16-aught, Viva's 16-aught. It's really, really fine. It allows me to not make a bulky head when I'm making this streamer. I don't think it matters, if you don't have 16-aught Vivas. If you want to use just whatever, any regular old black thread is fine. However, I don't like, building up that head, making it really bulky, because you don't have much room to work with here. You don't have much room to work with, and so yeah, I just don't like a big bulky head. Okay, so there we go. First step is blue. I have this, I don't know what it is, but it's like this sort of long, stringy, I just really like the color. Traditionally, deer hair is used, but my style is not traditional. I definitely don't use traditional styles here. So I just take a little clump here, and that's going to be my underwing. And I like to even off the tips here a little bit, and that's going to be my underwing. I don't like to use a lot. I just like a little bit. That's really all I want. I usually tie it in a little long so that I can adjust the length as I see fit. But I do push down on it, kind of flatten it out. The other reason I like it, this synthetic fiber, is because it doesn't add bulk to the head. It does not, which is great. So the next part is red. Here's my red bucktail. This is how much I'm gonna take. There's literally, I don't know, 10 strands. It's very, very few. I'm not looking for a lot. This is where people mess up, is they grab, you know, a bunch of bucktail because they want the red to be really prominent, and you don't want it to be really prominent. You just want it to be an accent, you know? You just want it to be an accent. So the tips should be about to the tips of the blue, maybe a little bit past it, but it should be very close to the blue tips. Boom. Give that a trim. Make sure they don't roll on you. Keep those tips, or keep those fibers, I should say, on top. See how many thread wraps I can do? I can do so many thread wraps with Viva's 60-knot. That's really it. Do you see how like sparse? It's nice and sparse. That's why I like this synthetic stuff. So sparse. Now, if you want, you can come in right now for added security, and you can drop a little dab of super glue, just a little tiny dab of super glue. This will also add security for your next tying point, and it adds security for these pretty delicate fibers. You don't have to do this. You certainly don't have to do this, but I do it frequently because it just is an extra layer of security. If I could get my super glue. Has it ever, in the history of man, has anyone ever made it through an entire bottle of super glue without getting the tip clogged? Is that even possible? Can somebody work on a design that, you know, that allows super glue to not get clogged? That's $1 million idea. God, I should come up with that. And now I've got this stuck. I'd have to cut this out. Unbelievable. Do I have pliers? Do I need pliers for this? Jesus. Okay, this is ridiculous. Okay, it's no big deal. Okay. Now I'm back after that little malfunction. Here's my little drop of super glue. Boop, just a little tiny drop, because obviously it's easy to overdo it. And then I'm coming in with white marabou. That is going to be the bulk of my wing. I measure it out. This is why I measure it out, so that it's just a little bit past the red fibers, maybe about the same. You don't want it to go too far past the bend of the hook, because it will foul quite a bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to lay it right on top. You really want to be firm with holding it here, because if you don't, it will roll on you. And if it rolls on you, if it's not perfectly on top, then what happens is when you're fishing your streamer, it does all kinds of crazy stuff and it starts twisting on you. So it really needs to be secured on top, like perfectly. If it's off even just a little bit, it causes it to swim funny. And no funny swimming. So that, I mean, look at that. Do you see how like subtle? It's very subtle. It's like the coloration on the bottom, very, very subtle. The white and the orange, that is really what this pattern is about. Boom. And then I'm just going to keep doing this for 7 years, because I'm using 16-aught thread to build up my head, to cover up all that white. But see, this is really why I like it, because I can do this without building up a head and make it nice and uniform, even though I'm going to cover it with glue. Okay, how's that look? You know what I mean? Like, just right there, that looks really nice, and I haven't even done anything to it. I don't like how this little piece is going down on me. We'll have to have a talk. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now the final piece, do a little whip finish. For me, because I tie so many flies for people, like, I am all about security of materials. It's really important to me. See how nice and even that is right on top? So it's really important to me. So this last bit that I do, I take some Solarez, this is bone dry. It's like the best stuff ever. And you know, I'm gonna do my regular head just to get it to look nice and pretty. But I also dab just a little bit into that, into the materials and the throat of the streamer. Why? Added security. That's typically where this streamer fails, is at that connection point. And if I have an extra little bit of glue, there, then it is less likely to fail. And so it's hardly noticeable, you know what I mean? Like when you're fishing it, you can't even notice it. But it adds a tremendous amount of extra support. And so, there is our streamer. How beautiful is that? Simple Montreal Floozie, not called the Floozie traditionally, but that's what some stores call it when they don't want to put the original name. So if you don't know the original name, you'll have to go and check it out yourself. So anyways, this streamer hook, the best. I mean, look at that. Look at that hook. Oh, that's so beautiful. So feel free, check us out. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram if you're looking for, if you liked that little educational information bit. That's basically what most of my Instagram is. It's just little educational information about trout, fish, etc. All things fishery. So yeah. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you liked this video, and I'll see you next time.